Ladies and gentlemen, oh my goodness, yes, we are here tonight talking about The Bad Batch Spoilers Review, Episode 3. I am your host, Taylor Field. I am not joined by Travis Snell. Yes, he was here for the first episode premiere, but he is not because this is not his cup of tea, so he is just going to be hopping off another GeekVerse content while I take it away and bring you through a Star Wars galaxy far, far away in The Bad Batch Spoilers Review. A little bit of housekeeping. Check us out on our social media. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. And then be sure to check us out on our Patreon for early ad-free episodes. What else do we have? We just did a newscast this week talking about some crazy good topics like Ghost Rider and consoles. And other than that, we have the Harry Potter retrospective available on our Patreon early. This week we'll be dropping The Order of the Phoenix, and we'll be following up weekly after that until we get to the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Shoutouts to Pillow Feather. Hello, how you doing this fine evening? Yeah, so I guess I'll start with a couple non-spoiler comments, then go right into the spoilers. I don't expect this to be super, super long, in-depth review, but just something that'll be good, short, simple, sweet. So, Bad Batch Episode 3. I have to say, it had me wondering after the end of the second episode where we were going to go, what we were going to see, and where the plot basically was going to take us. So I'm not disappointed. Again, this show seems to be getting more and more political, and I am a sucker for that kind of stuff in Star Wars. I truly, truly am. I was not expecting to get so much story and development on the political scale, focusing on I guess the clones and this transitional period in the Empire. Again, that's not spoilers, obviously, but it's just such a interesting topic of discussion that I love following along. And there's certain things that are happening that make me wonder if we're going to get. Again, I know it's a long shot, and I'll cover it into the spoilers portion, but there's certain tendencies and things that are happening unveiled in this episode that made me think we're going to get certain story elements from other Star Wars mediums represented in future episodes here, or maybe future seasons. But overall, the episode was great. The character development was just true and true. I wish Travis was still doing this review with me because I feel like he would really enjoy Wrecker at this point. I think Wrecker's character development was great. I love how Omega is becoming more one with the core team of the Bad Batch. And again, just the parallels between these characters and their stories was just really, really awesome. There were some dark twists and turns in this episode that totally caught me off guard. And with that, I'm going to segue right into spoilers. So 3, 2, 1, spoilers incoming at you. So, right off the hop. Oh gosh, why can't I remember his name? I want to call him just Deathstroke or Quick Shot. Sniper. I'm going to call him Sniper for now. So it just baffles me because they're obviously enhancing his inhibitor chip and they're trying to really make it prominent that he is bad. But he's still living in the past a little bit. He still have these tendencies of remembering his past, where he came from, and his original team. But when they sent him to go on the same mission with to take out Saw Gerrera with not clones, but human troops, it's interesting because now we have a dynamic where the Empire is essentially using the clones to train human soldiers. We're leading into that era where the Stormtrooper program becomes the norm for the Galactic Empire, the transition. And again, this is very political, and I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm just such a sucker for this kind of stuff. And seeing how this clone trooper is basically leading these human troops, and how, again, I was expecting to be a probe droid monitoring the status of their mission on Onderon, like it was for the Bad Batch initially in the original episode, but was not the case. We had a human turncoat basically saying, I'm not an execution squad. I'm a soldier. I'm here to fight. And he basically, the clone trooper, just shoots him. And I wish that was caught on probe droid camera, because I feel like that needs to be talked about at some point. And I feel like they just totally swept it under the rug because the mission ended. And Moff Tarkin is basically saying, I believe his name is Ramrat. Rampart, that your squad is one short, casualty of the battle happens, but I think it needed to be addressed that they basically did the same thing the Bad Batch did. Basically, it was only fear that kept them in line and kept them in check. So I am a firm believer that if the Empire kept with clones, they would have won the war no problem. Clones would have done the job easy. So on that front, you have these human soldiers, which is basically these are like they're not genetically augmented Imperial Death Troopers. These are just regular troopers, which I'm assuming are, I wouldn't say like they are stormtroopers, but they're probably like proto stormtroopers, you could say, if you want to play it that way in your headcanon. So they just execute these innocent people, which is extremely dark. They got flamethrower, these people trying to get out of there. I felt so bad. Again, kids show, oh my god, it's dark. So those people get executed trying to escape Onderon. And we go back to Camino, where we're learning more political dynamics of the Empire trying to remove stormtroopers from main infantry ranks, bring in human soldiers. And now we have little tidbits of information and just subtle scenes of the Kaminoans not being content. We have the Prime Minister of Camino really displacing himself from the rise of regular soldiers and advocating for his clone troopers. And now we have them discussing, which initially what I thought was, they mentioned Jango Fett, they mentioned the DNA strain is spread extremely thin, it's degrading. And a part of me really, really thought, oh my God, what if we get that original Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign story where the Kaminoans create another clone army, but for themselves to rise against the Empire? I feel like there's a very loose chance that that would happen now, because the Prime Minister stated that he wants to be in good standing with the new Empire that's rising. So they're going to be looking at making a new clone, and they only need one clone trooper. I'm not sure what that entails or what that has kind of in mind, but I feel like the emphasis on Camino in this at this time, obviously it's not going to segue right into Mandalorian, but I feel like there are certain elements and breadcrumbs that will be displayed with Camino and what goes on in this transitional period, because you have in the Mandalorian these officers for the Empire, or the Remnant, I should say, that have Camino badges on their shoulders. So I'm trying to think, are we going to get a shift of power here with the Camino corporation? Are we going to see the Prime Minister try and do something to sway in favor of the Empire, and it ends up just backfiring on him? Are we going to see the Empire just throwing the Kaminoans aside and just throwing their own human, preferably, according to the Empire, preferable human scientists into the Camino labs to take over? It's just going to be very interesting to see how that dynamic unfolds. I'm very excited to see what the Prime Minister has in store, augmenting another clone. I could see this somehow relating to, I doubt it, but I could see them doing some Rise of Skywalker stuff and just being like, yeah, we got this clone body here for you, Palpatine, way down the road when you need it. I doubt that's going to happen. That would be way too much, but you never know. So it'll be interesting to see what the Kaminoans have in store. That being said, and putting that aside now, the Bad Batch at its core and their relationship with Omega is just, it's growing, and it's such a feel good moment that they all share. I love how she's holding her own. I love how she's feeling a part of the team. And when she goes off to get that part back from that dragon, I'm really trying to figure out what her ability is. And they keep hinting at it when she's asking Hunter about what he is doing. He's tracking. Can she learn it? Not necessarily, because it's his skill that he's genetically augmented to accelerate in. Just like Tech and Wrecker all have their abilities. They hinted a little bit before, and I know people have spread the rumor of maybe she's a Palpatine clone, possibly. I genuinely do believe that she is a Jango Fett clone. She's just force sensitive. I'm doubling down my money on the fact that she's force sensitive clone. So already, to me, it makes sense. I can't confirm if she was able to calm down that dragon in this episode or not by using the force or whatnot, but I feel like there was some some method there that allowed her to manage to escape that situation calmly, at least calm the creature down. Again, anytime you're shining a light in anyone's eyes, you're gonna get pissed off by all, for sure. But I feel like there was more to that. I feel like there was some way she was able to sense the creature, just like how she was able to sense. Again, I'm just gonna call him Quick Shot. Sense Quick Shot's emotions of the time they were locked in the Camino brig. So force sensitivity, it's got to be. Again, her relationship with Hunter is great. I love the development that Wrecker is making in these episodes. He's just gone from being a little too obnoxious to just being so humbled, grounded, and just this big brawny character that is just ready to go punch his way through an army to just having a real soft heart down deep inside that you can just really connect with. Again, I'm just a sucker for tech. I don't know what it is. He's just displaying certain things that I can relate to, almost like an OCD. And the way he speaks, like, oh, the ship's crashing, but life support systems are still up. And he's just so like tunnel vision focused on what he's doing with certain things. And then you have Echo, which I am really appreciating the fact that Echo is making his comeback in this show. I really, really love that he is getting this time to shine, you could say. It's just great. The Bad Batch is just totally just becoming fruitful with their character personalities and such. It's just so wonderful. Trying to think what else happened in this episode. It felt very much like Clone Wars-esque. We just had the Bad Batch crashing on this planet, just a side quest to get their thing back. Oh, that's another thing. Parts of the score in this episode and the planet the Bad Batch crashed on just made me think so much. Okay, this feels alien-like. Aliens, I should specify. Shout outs to Ponpilanoy. Hope I said that correct. Hello to you. Thank you for joining. But yeah, that planet they crashed on, I know there weren't alien eggs, but the terrain and the score that was just clicking in, I was just getting major alien vibes. And it was cool because it wasn't like a full-on horror-esque, but there were just moments like you could see the dragon kind of in the background off to the corner of your eye behind some of our heroes. It just felt great to have that mysterious, not violent, horror-like effect added in there. I love that aesthetic. The show keeps on just blowing my mind how not kiddie it is. They keep just one-upping themselves in so many aspects. Like I said earlier, when this squad of humans and the clone basically just flamethrowered that transport ship and took out the innocent civilians, it's getting darker and darker. And I gotta confirm his name must have been Rampart. Yeah, Vice Admiral Rampart. So as soon as that name dropped, I was very curious because I was thinking, is this a character I should be familiar with? Tarkin addressed him by name, and when there's a name drop in certain moments of Star Wars that this character must be significant. And it looks like he's just made up for the show, and now they're boosting him up. He's a vice admiral now, and he's basically leading the charge for the humans to become the new clone army. Essentially, not the new clone army, but to replace the clone army. So I know I talked about that earlier, but that whole political area is just going to be so interesting to cover, and I cannot wait to see where that goes. I know I talked about how I think very loosely that we could see the Kaminoans doing their own kind of agenda, but whether or not they go head to head with Rampart, it'll be interesting to see how Tarkin deals with this, because Rampart is so wholeheartedly supporting his motives, his agenda of just getting these human troopers out there by using, I don't think he's understanding necessarily using fear to motivate humans to be the new soldiers of the Empire, but more or less he's using not programmed loyalty, but dedication and dedicated loyalty of people believing in this empire, which makes it more dangerous than someone programmed to. It feels like they're looking at the clones as being droids at this point in time. They keep foreshadowing with Quickshot. I know his name's not Quickshot. I apologize. They keep foreshadowing with Quickshot, though, the opportunity to redeem him. And in retrospect, this episode that you have the Bad Batch really feeling it out that, they do miss him. And even though he was kind of the moody one of the group, yeah, I definitely miss him too. I'd love to see him return. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do think he will be redeemed. I don't want to say he'll die, but that seems to be the general Star Wars Disney trait is when this guy goes bad, he'll have a moment of redemption and then they'll kill him off, which is very much a shame. But I do hope he returns to the Bad Batch and they carry on their missions. Again, Omega definitely hinted again that you can't feel bad to Hunter about what Deadshot or Quickshot did. Those were his actions. No, sorry, they were his actions, but they were programmed via his inhibitor chip. So it's obviously something that torments Hunter, and I just feel for him as a character because they don't leave their own behind. And I love the idea that eventually we're going to get them going back to rescue Quickshot. So just what's to come with this episode is just going to be so interesting in episode 4, I'm hoping, because we're going to get to a point where, okay, we're going to get these Clone Wars like episodes where they're going to be doing miscellaneous jobs, missions, all that jazz. They have to repair their ship because their ship is falling apart at this point. So they're going to have to do a job, make some money, repair the ship. It's going to have that Mandalorian kind of trajectory to it a little bit. So once that is all said and done, where are we going to go plot wise? I'm thinking we're going to get a lot more plot wise with Camino. We're going to get a lot more plot wise with them dealing with clones for now that are still in infantry, and then they'll be kind of receding their ranks. And I'm hoping that comes back, Cutter, but again, I'm not like anticipating it. It was just a pleasant surprise to see him in the last episode, but I anticipate we'll probably see Rex at some point. Again, they mentioned him in episode 2, so he's on the run, he's on the move, and he is familiar with the Bad Batch, so it only makes sense to have Rex come back at some point. So between Rex coming in, maybe somehow they show us in this series how Gregor and Commander Wolf basically join up with Rex. That would be a very, very cool dynamic to see, especially because you have the clone troopers being phased out in this series. It would only make sense to show, okay, let's yank the inhibitor chips out of a few of our friends and get them all together here. So yeah, again, they mention again and again the inhibitor chips in this episode. Omega seems to know a lot about that. And it's just interesting how Tech doesn't really have much insight onto it. I'm waiting for him to just start dropping more information on this kind of stuff because I feel like it would be all up his alley. What else is there? I can't really think of anything. Just overall, like it was a great episode. It had a very feel good ending. Omega got her own room on the ship, which is super, super awesome. I love that was done by Wrecker. I think it adds so much more depth to his character and what he's capable of. So yeah, I would highly recommend this episode. And I personally cannot wait for episode 4. It seems like these episodes are probably going to be consistently sticking to be around half an hour long, which is, again, is totally fine by me. Lets me do easy, quick watch, and then a very simple, quick review for the fans out there. So yeah, like I said, all the plugs at the beginning of the episode, links down below in the description box. So until next time, be sure to check us out. I'm Taylor, and we'll see you in the search bar. Have a good one.